Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It is Beaky here today on this beautiful snowy day. I was supposed to go out tonight and I think everybody's gonna cancel because it's snowing hard. Nobody wants to go out in that. I do. There you go. But yeah, it is beautiful. It's cold and winter is officially here. So there you go, and has been for a while. But we are back to Born to Stand Out. Now, I have stated that there are smaller ones down here, but because the bigger ones are just on top, it's just easier to grab them. I know. I'm not going to lie. The hand goes straight for them, much like this one here, which is... Oh, I had to check twice to make sure I was seeing this right. I wasn't. It's really dark in here. Actually, it doesn't look like it, so I have extra lights on. I'll boost it up a little bit in editing. It's called Dirty Heaven. I thought it said something else. I'm not going to say what I thought it was. It doesn't matter. But Dirty Heaven is what it is actually called. Yes, so here we go. Dirty Heaven. So this is actually on Ministry of Scent because I do find the Born Standout website very difficult to navigate. So if I could find the mid notes and all those broken down, great. I've been using Ministry of Scent because it's just way easier than navigating the real site. But for 50 milliliters, this will cost you $210. Yes. So Dirty Heaven opens up with silky white flowers floating above warm, sweet notes of tonka bean and saffron. I love tonka bean. Saffron, As Dirty Heaven evolves on skin, soft shadows of white musk and gray amber slowly creep in to surround the floral notes. Okay. Deepening the ethereal composition. Interesting. What makes me nervous with my chemistry, if you know your chemistry, is I know my body loves musks and they tend to take over everything, and same thing with saffron, so I am nervous about this one. So yeah, this one is jasmine, neroli, white flowers, tonka bean, saffron, ambroxan, vanilla, white musks, gray amber, modern woods. The rest of this is beautiful. This is exactly what I want in life. It's the saffron and the white musks. The white musks are gentler than other musks. So maybe it'll play really nicely and be kind to me. And thus, in turn, be kind to you. And this one is broken. Oh. So this one is completely broken. So the sprayer's not even going to work. I know. I tried. So I'm just going to have to do it like old school and do it this way. That's really frustrating. There's barely any even in there. It's interesting. It's interesting. We'll just keep it at that. So we're gonna have to do it this way. Okay, so that is a little depressing, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. It's on the fingers. It's here, it's definitely there. Yeah. There you go. Things happen. We make it work. So, definitely getting it. Ooh. Even though there's a little bit of a malfunction, it's working well. This is definitely a lighter scent. I would expect that. You're looking at it from Dirty Heaven. They have like the Dirty collection. And so with this, it's very ethereal. It is. It really captures something being ethereal. It's very light. I do get this image of floating in the air and just going upward. It's exactly that. So they're capturing it beautifully. Definitely getting the floral immediately. Definitely getting that beautiful floral. It's actually on my finger. I'm going to wash my hands because I got to eat. And getting that tonka. So you're definitely getting that with it. The neroli, the tonka. You are getting the saffron in this. But what I like is normally on my chemistry, it really loves things that could be a little bit more difficult, like cumin and saffron, musks. But the way that the saffron is playing in this is so beautiful. It actually, and this is what surprises me, because normally I'm like, no, 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 when it comes to saffron. But with this one, it just, oh, that's lovely. Gosh, this one's beautiful. It it's so entwined with the neroli and the tonka. It's just like nestled in there. So they're almost nestling that saffron. So it kind of keeps it calmer, which I really like. It's like one of those little Russian dolls. It's in there, and you know it's in there, but it's underneath the other notes. If that makes sense, that's how I view this a little bit. It's very light. It's very beautiful. This isn't a powerhouse. You know, this isn't like the maple one, but to be fair, anytime you use a maple scent, that note is a powerhouse. With the way that it's created, it is just a powerhouse. So that one has been the strongest of the collection so far. This one's very light. This one is definitely the floral, and it is so beautiful. Let's try it on the wrist. It almost, this is so strange. With the saffron, it almost has a paper quality to it. If you've ever smelled fresh paper, yeah, I don't ask how I know. I just know. You know, you can make your own paper. You can do things with paper. There is this beautiful quality to it of almost with that saffron wet paper. Wet paper with florals on it. So this thing that I'm envisioning is almost like somebody's writing in a diary or a book, handwriting it. And the paper is damp. And so you have that damp paper with florals. Is that strange? I can envision it in my head. The flowers on the paper, and the paper is wet and it has that wet paper smell. Very interesting. Yeah, that's so pretty though, when you get that sweetness of the neroli coming through, and the tonka, and a little bit of vanilla. I'm almost positive there's vanilla coming through right now from, see, everything's cradled and the vanilla is coming up to the cradled items. Very interesting. Let's try it on the shirt. That's interesting. So on the shirt, it's very floral. There's a little bit of that wet paper, which I think is the saffron, but this one is very heavy florals. Not as easy to detect. Not as powdery. On my skin, it's more powdery. With here, it's more flowers. And they just say white flowers. So it's just floral. Yeah, with a little bit of powdery, but not as much as on the chemistry. Interesting. And then sweetness. A beautiful sweetness of vanilla coming up. Very interesting, this one. Okay, on here, the initial smells coming out, the initial, which was more of the flowers, the white flowers and neroli, with a little bit of the saffron, making it just a little bit, it just adds, the saffron normally, I'm telling you, I normally really do not like, but it adds, and sorry to those who do, we all have different preferences. Saffron just doesn't play well on me, and that's why I'm loving this, because it plays so beautifully. And it just gives it a little bit of grounding. So you can see why they're saying dirty heaven. They may have different idea what that means, but with this, it's very, it just adds a grounding to it. When it's floating, the saffron brings it down a bit, almost like a balloon being weighted. This is lovely. I really like this one a lot. It's very gentle. It's very gentle. It's not one that's going to make a statement. This is not a loud scent. This is a very personal scent. Now, to be fair, I wasn't able to spray it, but it's staying like right, like normally a lot of the scents will be here. This one's very much here. So I don't think it's going to morph too much, but I could be wrong. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to check back in an hour, and we'll see where this one goes, because I am worried a little bit about the longevity. But that being said, it could surprise us all. So I will see you back in an hour. Okay, so it has been an hour, and this one's interesting because I'm going to say I think it's actually gotten stronger. Is that weird? It's weird. It's gotten stronger, which kind of surprises me. I didn't expect that. I know, these have been interesting because it was such a light white florals. I just thought it would dissipate more, but it's getting stronger. Maybe it's my imagination, but it's also really changing. This was a contradiction to me, or not a contradiction, but I thought it was going to go one way. It's completely the other. It was this light white floral. It's now heading into a gourmand. Very interesting. So there's still a powderiness to it from the florals, which I think is heliotrope. It doesn't list all the florals. It just says florals or white florals. But I swear there's heliotrope in here because there's a certain powderiness to it, even with it becoming a gourmand more, that is reminiscent of heliotrope and that powderiness, which I love. I love. But there's definitely a sweetness to this. So this morphed from this beautiful floral to something that is becoming a very beautiful gourmand, a powdery gourmand. But let's try it on the wrist. Ooh, that's beautiful. So it's vanilla. It's powdery from like the heliotrope, if it is in there. Powdery vanilla, tonka, and almost like an amber feel to it. With that, like there's a not spicy. Maybe, yeah, a little bit of spicy woodsiness to it. Very light. It's not a woodsy scent. It's just underlying beneath this tonka and vanilla, which I love. If you know me and you know my channel, I adore tonka based things. Tonka, vanilla, amber is my jam. That is where you will find me. That, I love it. But I know it's very basic to a lot of people, but that's my thing. I love it. I've loved it since I was like 12, well, probably 14. So that's what I'm getting from this. So of course I'm going to love this because of that. But what's changing it is that there's a little bit of a grounding with it. And that is the saffron. The saffron is still lurking. You know, it's like Jaws. It's underneath. But it's not going to get you because this is a beautiful, delicate scent. It's not going to get you. That saffron, and I normally, like I said, saffron can play it doesn't play well with me, but with this it's beautiful. It just gives it enough grounding, or you could say dirty heaven, the dirtiness. It gives enough grounding so it's not overly sweet where it's cloying. I like that. Normally I'm not a big fan of saffron, so I am loving this. But let's try it on the shirt. Interesting. On the shirt, it definitely plays more, it's more of that ambroxan coming through a little bit with that saffron. So those are the forefront, and it's not as sweet and gourmand on my skin, but there's no florals or powderiness on it. Yeah, that I don't care for as much. On my chemistry, oh, my chemistry is amazing. For once, usually it's the opposite. There you go. Yep. And on here, it's a combination of the two that's so interesting. It's the gourmand with that heaviness of the saffron, a little bit of the ambroxan. Ooh, I can speak. So, interesting. I much prefer it on my chemistry, but usually what happens is that this will follow. You know, things get into the fiber. And so in a couple hours, it could change to what's on my arm. But I love it. I can see if some people, the saffron might throw some people off. I could see people thinking it has a little bit of a burnt rubber smell to it because of that. I get a little bit of that, but I know it's the saffron. But yeah, there's a little bit of that burnt tire smell to it. So we will come back in 4 hours and see where this one has gone. If it's gotten stronger, if it's a floral, if it's a gourmand, tire, what's going to happen? I don't know. But see you soon. Okay, so it has been 5 hours, yes. And I can definitely still smell this one. So it didn't get too much stronger. It stayed in this, so it originally was out to here, and then it moved forward and is now in a pocket like, I'd say about here. So that's very interesting because I've never had a scent that was gentle slowly get stronger. But once it locked in the 1 hour mark, it locked in the 1 hour mark. Same thing as far as the scent actually goes. It didn't change much once it hit that hour and a half mark. It stayed where it was at that point, at least from this perspective when I'm moving around. I'm getting a lot of that tonka, that vanilla, that type of a scent, which I absolutely adore. This is such a me scent with that vanilla and tonka. Just a little bit of that underlying woodsiness, just a little bit. And I'm still getting that beautiful, like almost like heliotrope powderiness coming up from it. It's just really beautiful, this one. But this is really in my wheelhouse of what I enjoy. This is a me scent in that respect. But still getting a little bit of that grounding. I don't want to say dirtiness, but it's more of a grounding from that saffron, which is really interesting. Like I said, saffron is not an easy note for me, so to see it used in this way, in which it complements it, rather than, I don't know, it complements it in a beautiful way rather than distracts from it. So that's what I'm getting from this. But I really love that powdery vanilla tonka. It's just, oh, so good. But let's smell it on the wrist. Interesting. So on the wrist, there's almost like a spiciness to it. Very interesting. And I'm wondering if that's coming from the woodsiness they say is in it, or the ambroxan. Sometimes that could have a little bit of, to me, like a spiciness to it. But it's vanilla and tonka with like a powdery vanilla tonka with a little bit of woodsy spiciness. That's so good. What's interesting though is that the white flowers or the florals pretty much are gone, except for that heliotrope-esque scent to it, which is creating that powderiness. Now I don't think it has heliotrope in it, but there's definitely that powderiness, which I'm really enjoying. But let's try it on the shirt. Interesting. So on the clothing, it has a beautiful tonka vanilla powderiness, but there's definitely more saffron. The saffron is coming through a lot more on that. So I'm enjoying this a little bit more on my chemistry, but when you're walking around and moving, you're not getting that saffron as much. You're just not, because it's mixing with the chemistry and the shirt, and it's just the perfect balance. It's just beautiful. A little bit more saffron on the actual clothing, so on me. So if you want to avoid that, because I'm not big into saffron, scent forward in a scent, I like it a little bit more in the background. You may want to keep it on the chemistry depending on your own chemistry. Saffron tends to really love my chemistry, but for some reason it's behaving itself with this one. It's really beautiful. I could see though how people could see a little bit of a tire. There's a little bit of a tire scent to it with that saffron. It does play into that a little bit. If you smell too quickly and don't think about it, and you're like, it smells like a burnt tire a little bit. So interesting. But when I'm moving around in my day-to-day, I'm definitely not getting that. It's just when you're up close to it and you go quickly, you might get that. But let's try it here. More so here. That's really interesting. It smells more like a burnt tire on here. Huh. I see. So what's happening is the saffron on the clothing and on this are more aligned. It's just this is better balanced than cloth. So a little bit more saffron heavy with underlying tonka and vanilla and tonka powderiness. This one's beautiful. It's very interesting. So my thoughts on this. So what I will say is that when a lot of these scents are initially sprayed, I will be honest, maybe it's just me, but I do feel that they're a little bit more synthetic than some of the other lines that I've looked at. Now, over time, they become less so, but on the initial spray, I do feel that they're a little bit more synthetic. And I did want to point that out. It's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of perfumers use synthetic notes now because there's a lot of regulations and things that perfumers used to be able to use. So this is kind of the route that it's gone. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of perfumes do it. But for some reason, I am more aware of it with this one, Born to Stand Out. But I'd say within the first 30 minutes, it mellows out to just normal. But that is something that I have kind of noticed a little bit. I've noticed it with other perfumes too, but I'm noticing it a little bit more with this brand. So that may not bug you. It may bug some people who are a little bit more purists. I don't know, but I have kind of gotten that a little bit. That being said, I do think this one's beautiful. I don't think at this moment it smells like that at all. It was just initially I got it a little bit. If I was going to categorize this as we do, I would say that this one it's interesting because it starts out as a light floral, a light white floral, and then it slowly goes into a grounded, powdery gourmand. So I think if you live in a humid place in the summer, this might be rough. This is something that you might want in cooler weather. I'd wear it in fall. You can definitely wear it in winter. I think it may get a little bit lost, but maybe fall, spring, somewhere like that. Wear what you want when you want. It doesn't matter if you like it. It's a season. You can do whatever, who cares? You know what I mean? It's just sometimes with sweeter gourmand fragrances in summer, it can be a little bit cloying and it might just be a bit much on your nose and maybe other people's, but it's yourself. Do what you want to do. As far as putting this in the category of masculine, feminine, nah, hey, but we're here to just break it down a little bit. I would say that I think most going from the floral to more of this beautiful gourmandish scent, that most people would tend to categorize that as a female scent or feminine scent. And I would place it there as well if I had to. People may perceive this as being a little bit more feminine, and it's really beautiful. It's just so strange. I've never had a scent go from a white floral where it was so light and I'm like, oh, this would be perfect to summer, to going straight into more of a fall scent to me in the span of 10 minutes. If I were going to give this one a score, I would give this one a 9.5 out of 10. I know that's a lot. And the reason is because for me, it checks all of the boxes of what I wear. I love those beautiful light florals, that heliotrope aspect. Even if it's not in here, it says white florals. Even if it's not there, the powderiness kind of reminds me of vanilla powder, the perfume, which I adore. It's not that same scent at all, but it is reminiscent of that. It kind of is that powdery vanilla, which had heliotrope in it. So it's kind of a nod to that on my chemistry, but the saffron makes it really unique. It adds a different component to it, which I wouldn't normally like, but I like how it grounds it on my chemistry. It plays out really beautifully. This one is really beautiful, and I'm curious to see how it would have worked with several sprays instead of just dabbing it on. But it just has a beautiful longevity, and I really enjoy this one. I think if it had been used spray with real sprays rather than dabs, it would have been even more of a powerhouse. So yeah, big thumbs up for this one. Curious to see where some of these other ones go. But yes, so for those who are out, have a fabulous, beautiful day, my friends. And I am now going to talk about my next favorite K-drama, and this one is a favorite. Yes, so I adore this one. This one is hands down probably one of my favorite top 10 K-dramas of all times. And it has one of my favorite K-drama performers, Ji-sung. I absolutely love him. I think he is just top-notch, one of the best actors out there. I love him. This was the first thing that I ever saw him in. Somebody had recommended it to me. I'd seen it on lists of people saying this is the best show ever, or K-drama ever. And it is older. I think it's 10 or 11 years old now, but I don't care. It is so good. If you want to see top-notch acting, Ji-sung is going to give it to you in this. I love this drama. So, disclaimer, we have come a long way as far as understanding mental health issues. My background is in the arts, but it's also in psychology, where I had a double major. And so my background is also in psychology. And I do want to point out that though this is a comedy drama, there's a lot of comedic aspects to Heal Me, Kill Me. It's also a heavy drama as well. So, warning, I like to put those warnings if certain things turn you off to a show. It It does discuss mental health issues, and it does discuss child abuse issues. So if those are triggering to you, you may want to skip this one, because this is pretty heavy, especially towards the last half of the series. It also talks about issues such as suicide and things like that. So self-harm, things like that. So just so you know, because everybody deserves to know, I don't want to recommend something and then you're like, why did you recommend that? So there you go. But and some violence. There is some violence as well. So with this one, I do also want to express that it does discuss the effects of DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. I do want to point out that it is DID is very glamorized. You'll see it a lot on TikTok and YouTube, people saying they have DID. I do want to point out DID is extremely rare. Some psychologists will even argue whether it exists. That's not for me to decide. So I do want to say that the way it is portrayed in this drama is completely wrong. It's just completely wrong. I want to say that. Don't think this is how DID works. It does not. It's actually, a lot of the time, they don't change clothing necessarily as much. It's not these dramatic shifts. It tends to be very small. Sometimes people won't even know it's happening. But just know DID doesn't work like this. It's an extremely rare disorder. More rare than it's portrayed a lot of times. Okay, so it cut off, so we will see how well this edits. But long-winded, psychology and K-dramas, my two favorite things. So there you go. So basically, you see how the two sides of the family, of course, are fighting for the main spot to take over the company. You have somebody, I think it's his cousin, who is healthy but a little bit greedy with this side of the family, versus the character with I think it's Do-hyun, who is, you know, struggling with a severe mental illness, and DID is a severe mental illness. You know, it's created usually in childhood from somebody who's seen extreme trauma over and over and over. Sometimes it could be from a couple big things, but a lot of the time it's from continual things that happen, into which the person disassociates, sometimes from reality to a degree. It can just be staring out of a window sometimes and focusing on something else, versus some people saying completely leaving their body. So this is how DID is basically, in a way, simple way, kind of created. It's an escape from what's happening in reality, and this is a safe way for the brain to, in its own initial way, kind of shut down to protect the person. So basically, he has to work through these issues to figure out what caused it. They work through what's caused these issues and how to fix it as best as they can. Can they fix it? That's debatable. We won't get into it. Again, I could do a whole 2-hour video on that. We're not here for psychology. But so it basically shows his journey. The problem is the different people will show up at different times depending on what is happening around the main character that triggers these people to come out. Now this is where some people may go, because a lot of the time there's comedy that ensues with these characters. And of course somebody with DID, it's not fun. There is a certain charm to it. There are funny moments which happens throughout it. No, this is an older drama, things change. But he plays the different characters, Ji-sung plays the different characters so amazingly. You know who has come through just by the look in his eyes, without even changing the costumes to make it easier to know who's come forward. Perry Park is my favorite. I think most people, I know who they're going to go with. They're going to go with the sexy one. I actually like Perry Park the most. He was the one that I would chill with. He cracked me up. So there you go. But it's just such a well acted drama. Just know that the female lead, I'm going to be honest, for the first 3 episodes is a lot. She screams a lot. She is over the top a lot. So I promise you, she mellows out and she becomes a lot more palatable from episode 3 onward. And it's no shame to the actress. Just know that sometimes directors will tell you to take a character a certain way, even if you don't want to. They will say, you need to do this. And you're like, they're the director, so we don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes. So just know that. But it does get better, and really the ride of it is something else. And to see somebody basically, what I do appreciate, even though it doesn't encapsulate DID in the most realistic way, what it does show is how somebody struggling with mental illness, how they're looked at from the perspective of society, how there's this almost sometimes shame that they feel about it when it isn't their fault, and trying to cover it up and act normal, and not always being able to do that depending on the disorder. And somebody shouldn't really have to. It shows the struggle, how it affects relationships day to day. So I do respect that from a psychological background of how it's handled in that way. It is an interesting little drama. I love it. I've seen it like 3 times. I watch it every couple years because I love it so much. I just think the acting's great. I think the script, though over the top, is creative and fun. There's a lot of good comedy. Just know that you're not getting this isn't like a documentary on DID. Just know that. That's all I want to say. But this one is a big thumbs up for me. A little bit wordy with this one, but I really do recommend it. And I don't want to give away too much about the plot and where it ends up, but it's quite a journey for the lead character, and there's a few twists and turns which I think you will go whoa to. I did, and there are some really intense moments, and you're rooting for the lead, and then he falls and doesn't quite make it, gets knocked back down 2 steps but comes back. It's just such a well-rounded drama. I don't think there was any throwaway episodes. I really enjoyed this one, so one of my top 10, if not top 5 dramas of all time. So there you go. Yes, Heal Me, Kill Me. Love it. So what will be next? Who knows? We still have like 37 fragrances. So with that, have a fabulous day, my friends. Bye.